Hey everyone, welcome to Founders 365 with me, Steven Haggerty. Today I am joined by PR guru, wizard, however you want to call you, Mrs. Laura Perkes. How are you today, Laura?
I'm really well, thank you, Stephen. How are you?
I'm excellent. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I'm really looking forward to this one because PR is I think is the two-letter word that probably confuses most business owners the most.
I would wholeheartedly agree with that statement.
Well, and I'm hoping that you can unpack this so that perhaps after this call, people aren't as confused about PR because I don't think there is anything to be confused about if you understand it right.
No, totally. I think it's one of these things that pre-social media, PR was kind of like the go-to way to share your message, increase your exposure, draw people into your website and like your sales funnel. And now it's kind of almost like social media's ugly sister.
I don't know if I would look at it like that, but hey, you're in the game. So before we jump into the ins and outs of PR, I'm really intrigued just to figure out how you got to where you are today, how you got to running your own PR business, and a little bit about your background.
Sure. Well, I have always loved communication. For me, communication and connection is at the heart of everything that we do as human beings, as business owners. And I think as well as humans, we just love feeling like we're part of something. And for me, working with business owners to help to get them in the media is all about building relationships. And before the advent of social media, businesses were very much built on relationships. And, a lot was done on a handshake. And, I still speak to business owners now who haven't really embraced digital marketing because they've just always built their business on relationships. So, I was very chatty at school. I'm very curious. I like to ask questions. And I loved the idea of being a journalist. Like that really excited me, being part of a busy newsroom, just speaking to different people, learning. Like I'm a sponge. Like I love hearing stories. I love learning from people. And it only got to, I was probably about 16, 17, whatever age you are when you kind of decide, yes, I'm going to go to university and this is what I'm going to study. And at the time, I was going to go into like media studies. But I found that a lot of degrees were very technical. It was more kind of TV or radio production. And I remember I went up to Manchester University on a visit and they kind of put us in this radio recording room and I saw like all the kit and I freaked out and I was like, oh my God, this is not me. Like for me, radio is the talking, it's the interacting, it's the fun part. It is not all these buttons and knobs and no, thank you. So that kind of put me into a bit of a head spin. And I remember having a conversation with my mum, and I hate the fact that mums are always right.
Always.
So I know, like, why is that? And she just said to me, look, you love communicating, so why don't you look at something from more of a communications perspective? And I thought, oh yeah, do you know what? She's got a point. And I just kind of stumbled across public relations. And public relations and journalism especially, there's kind of like this blurred line now between the two. And there is a little bit of a love-hate relationship between journalists and PR professionals. But, a lot of what we're trying to achieve is the same. We're conveying news. We want to get stories across. We want to make an impact on more lives. And I thought, yeah, do you know what? Like PR is the route for me. So I did a 3-year degree at university. As part of my final year, I did a 4-week work placement at Sainsbury's head office in their media relations department. And I was like, yeah, I love this. Just being part of a team and representing a brand and just conveying messages, and it wasn't just in the media, it was with like their stakeholders, it's internal communications. And I just thought, yes, like this is exactly what I love.
This is your thing.
This is my thing. And when it came to like finishing my degree, randomly, my best friend at university had met the receptionist of a PR agency on a plane when she was going on holiday.
As you do.
As you do. Yeah. So she did her work placement at this PR agency in Reading. When we both graduated, she had a job to go to. And it just so happened that they were looking for junior members of staff in their like consumer division. So, I went along for the interview, and I didn't know at the time, but I was actually being interviewed. The second candidate to me was the boss's son. So it's like, okay, no pressure.
Yeah.
And looking back, even like 16 years ago, when I graduated from university, everyone had a degree.
Mm-hmm.
And we both had a degree. His degree was actually higher than mine. But because I'd worked for the university PR magazine, because I'd done this work placement at Sainsbury's, because I'd gone that extra mile, I then stood out. So although his degree was like better than mine, I had this kind of extra work that I'd done to prove, this is what I love to do. This is what I'm really interested in. Here's some examples of articles I've had published. And I actually loved agency life because you're working on several different clients in several different sectors. And that's what really gets me fired up, is just the eclectic mix of everything and always having something different to do.
Yeah.
And that pretty much started my career. I was working on B2B clients, B2C clients, and I just loved the variety. No 2 days were ever the same. And it was after about 2.5 years I started getting itchy feet. So I decided to be a holiday rep.
So what? So now we've gone from university, nice job. Everyone around you is probably like, "Oh, you've done really well," and you're just gonna go, "I'm just gonna go to Magaluf."
Yeah, I mean, I was in Zante, so
nice.
I've never really wanted to travel. Backpacking isn't the lifestyle for me, so I was like, go and be a holiday rep.
Yeah.
But actually, I was really bored. Because it was just, I was in a resort where a lot of the holiday makers were repeat customers. They didn't really need my support. They didn't need to come and talk to me every day.
They knew the drill.
So I was like, wow, okay. So I'm living this lifestyle, which was pretty hectic, I'm not going to lie. I was like, I'm just bored. Like I need to go back home and I need to get back into PR. Which is what I did. And I got a job for a very specialist agency based in Northwest London. They were a health and fitness agency. And trust me, at the time, I was like so far removed from health and fitness. It was unbelievable.
You were still hungover from Zante.
Yeah. I had a really nice tan, but still hungover.
Yeah.
So I kind of had to prove myself. And that's something else that I enjoy. And I think I've had it for most of my life. I've always had to prove myself because I come across very laid back and very confident. Mm-hmm. And sometimes people can confuse that to me being a little bit blasé. So I kind of had this challenge of proving myself. And then actually through working with health and fitness clients, completely changed my lifestyle around. So if I took anything away from the 7 years I worked at that agency, it was the fact that I got my life back on track.
That's a pretty good thing to take away, let's face it.
Yeah, exactly. Worse things could happen.
Exactly.
And
so when did you start going from agency side of things and then that thought of, I could do this myself. I could go on this road alone and I could build this business and work with the clients I want to work with and give them the results that I know I can give them?
It's a slow process. I don't think it ever fully kind of slaps you in the face like, oh my God, wake up call, I need to leave. Yeah. Things were happening over time. The agency was going in a different direction. I didn't feel fulfilled, but I'm very loyal. Mm-hmm. And once I'm in a position and I'm comfortable, I don't always want to then put myself out of my comfort zone to try something else. And I think this is a lot of the reasons why many people don't take that leap from, from corporate into being an entrepreneur. But things kept happening, and I'm very much an opportunist. So things kept happening, and I was like, these are signs. And if I ignore these signs, I'm literally going to be here for the rest of my career, but I'm not happy. And, you know, because, you know, I'd worked my way, you know, quite high up the ladder in that particular agency. And I was doing a lot of new business outreach alongside my boss. So, you know, cold calling, emailing prospects for me was actually fun, because it was like,
almost like you were testing a business before you had the responsibility of one.
Yeah, without really kind of knowing that's what I was doing. And like I said, these opportunities kept presenting themselves, and I'm very much a now or never kind of person. And I was like, no, this is it.
This is it.
This is it. And it kind of coincided with like my 30th birthday. And I was like, I really can't keep doing this forever. I'm not
poetic.
I know.
So I'm turning 30.
Yeah.
I can't go back to Zante. It would be a bit odd if I went back and be a holiday rep. So I'm going to set my own business up.
Yeah, pretty much. And I think back then, I don't know, sometimes I look at it and I think I was really naive, but then part of me thinks, no, because you back yourself so much, you knew you wouldn't fail.
Yeah, yeah. Which I think is is one of those traits with so many entrepreneurs, that out from the outside in, if you're not in the entrepreneurial world or your business owner world, that trait is really hard to see, because that's when you get those people around you going, oh, are you sure this is the right move? Are you sure you shouldn't wait another 6 months? All these kind of things. But as an entrepreneur, as soon as that switch is flipped in our head, it's like, no, we're doing it. It's going to happen.
Yeah, and you don't actually think of what could go wrong.
No.
Because
it's just all good things.
Yeah. And when you start out, you don't know that anything can go wrong, because it's all new and it's exciting and it's exploratory and it's all the things that I love, being curious, learning. And yeah, so I've been in business now, it'll be 7 years, I think in July. So in a couple of weeks. And it's like, whoa, where did those 7 years go?
That's incredible. And for you, you know, PR as a whole, like you mentioned at the beginning, it's changed a lot because of social media. But if we take PR as it is today, when you're dealing with clients, what are the typical things that they're coming to you and you're going, yeah, this is how we can solve this with a really good PR strategy, rather than just like, hey, just post on Facebook?
Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, quite a lot of people who I speak to now already know that they need PR. Or they think that they know PR, but they don't really know what that looks like. They don't know what it entails. They have no idea how much it costs, which, you know, is fine, because when I got married in 2018, I didn't know how much things cost. So, you know, it is what it is. So it's very much, a lot of the people I speak to have been on social media. They've already got an established business in the sense that they've been doing it for a couple of years now. So they've got their message, they know who their ideal client is, but they want credibility. They now want recognition for the work that they're doing. And as we know, to get that credibility and that bigger recognition, you have to be seen by more people.
Yeah.
And like, I love social media. I don't ever bash social media, but there comes a point where you have to go beyond social media to grow your brand. Sure. And, you know, we see so many brands, like big brands, advertising on TV, and they're on the radio. And I think with public relations, it's almost that middle ground that people don't see. So social media is super accessible. You know, it's a free tool to grow business, to build relationships.
Tool, everything.
Yeah. So you've got social media at one level, and then you've got like TV and radio advertising at the other level, and no one kind of knows what's in between.
Yeah.
Or not as many people as know it.
I think it's the access, though, isn't it? It's they don't know how to get themselves in those publications. And if they do, that maybe they go to, you know, if you Google PR, you probably get inundated with those really high-end PR companies that are going to charge, you know, £10,000 to be on in Business Insider, for example, right?
Yeah.
But when you're working with clients, when you like tell them this secret that you can be like, actually, no, you can get really good PR in a really nicely done format. How does that change their business? How does them getting in front of that credit? The word you said is perfect, like the credibility side of things, because Facebook's great, but Facebook or social media in general almost creates these little bubbles around people, don't they? Because they fill in with people that they like, and they fill in with people that have engaged with their content. But actually, when you start getting seen from, I don't know, an article in the newspaper, and your grand sees it, it's a different form of credibility, because you've immediately allowed people outside your circle to see what you do. How's the benefit of a business owner to have that outside credibility?
The outside credibility, and I guess in a way it's kind of similar to like what social climbing was like years ago, is people, I'll say it's not that they're materialistic. I think if you're seen in a magazine, it's almost like, wow, you must be somebody.
Yeah, it's really bizarre, the human behavior behind that, though, isn't it? Because if I just laid up a magazine right now, like I've got a speaker award somewhere around in my office, and I didn't do anything for that award, literally nothing, but I got the award. And the moment I got that award, it was like, oh, you're award-winning speaker. It's like, not really. But that's their story that they make up in their head. Just like if I had a magazine next to me with my face on, it's suddenly this instant credibility. Is there ever going to be that point, though, when like I do really think it's almost like this secret? Because is there ever going to be a point where everyone kind of knows the truth of PR and that kind of stuff, and it will lose that credibility side? No.
No, I don't. I don't think
that's a stupid question.
But it's like me having this conversation with you today. This is me elevating my expertise to a whole new audience I can't tap into on my own, or if I can, it's going to take me a very long time.
Yeah.
It's the same with getting in the media, and the media now is very broad. So you know, 16 years ago when I went to university, it was pretty much print and broadcast, whether that was TV or radio. And I remember even in my last agency, one of our biggest clients hated online coverage because they saw online coverage as the poor relation to being seen in print.
Are they still going?
I believe so, but there were some difficulties at one point, which is kind of what escalated into the agency I was working with going in a different direction and everything else. So, you know, whereas now actually online is king, because people know that once you're online, you stay there forever. Yeah. The link you can share on social media, in your blog, on your website. So, and online is instant. You don't have, I mean, yes, of course, online websites do have lead times, but you can have a journalist try your product or your fitness class or experience your service, and within 3 days, the coverage is live.
Yeah, yeah.
Whereas in print, you know, if you look at a lot of the monthly glossy magazines, next month they're going to be working on their December issue. So all of a sudden, you're having to forward plan, and you're having to really get your ducks in a row, and then you're having to wait for the coverage to come out.
Yeah.
So, you know, I could secure a piece of coverage for you tomorrow in GQ magazine. We're probably not going to see it until October at the earliest.
Yeah, yeah. With that side of things, then, when you start speaking to business owners, at what point do they come to? Do they come to you thinking, oh, I need to be in GQ tomorrow? And then you almost have to go down that education route to be like, no, that's kind of not how it works. Because I guess, like you said, so many people, no matter what level they are used to that instant feedback in terms of when they put something out. So then you come along and go, look, we can create a really good strategy, but it's not going to be tomorrow. This is like a 6-12 month sort of playtime we're working towards. Yeah.
And I have to have this conversation with people a lot, because the basic principles of PR have never changed. The vehicle that we use to get you noticed by other people has changed because there's now online, there's social media. So a PR campaign, whoever you work with, should be telling you it can take 3 months just to get that foundation laid.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, you may have secured some pieces, but they may not come out for 3 to 4 months. And that's one of the challenges I come up against an awful lot at the moment, is because we're so used to having everything now. Everything is instant, that at the moment, a lot of people who are coming to me, and especially at the start of COVID, it was almost this panic of, oh my God, I haven't like been out there enough and I need it now. And it's like,
I can imagine.
I understand, but it's going to take a couple of months to build up, because how I work with clients is different from an agency, because, and this may have changed, I haven't been in an agency for 7 years, but when you're in an agency, it's kind of about quantity over quality sometimes.
Okay, got you.
And it's about, oh, we've told the client we need to get them 6 pieces of coverage a month, so we just need to get 6 pieces of coverage a month.
Yeah.
Whereas for me, I'm a lot more, well, no, we need to be more strategic, and we need to be seen where your ideal client and customer
it's like, what is that coverage you're getting?
Absolutely, because I say to people all the time, there's no point being in Vogue or GQ if your readers are, your clients are listening to podcasts, or your clients are reading the Daily Mail, for example. So it's never about you, is it? It's always about your client.
I mean, if you got me a piece in Gardening's World, I don't think it would help me much.
I'd no, it wouldn't.
If you saw my gardener, I definitely wouldn't get a piece of it. Let's face it. That's really interesting then, because that's what I was kind of thinking, is when you said about that time sign, people must get into that desperation mode and think, oh, I need to be seen. And then they probably see other people with the magazines, with the articles online. And for them, it obviously, once you put it out there, it's probably seen as something really quick. But like you just said, this is a three month plus timeline. What are some of the other common myths that you get when clients come to you about PR? Because I think this is the key when we're trying to unfold the PR world. It's like, if we get rid of these common myths, then people are going to come to you and say, look, I completely understand what I now need to do.
Another common myth, and again, mainly because this is from my experience recently, is people tend to come to PR consultants as a last resort.
Got you.
So it's almost, they feel exhausted because they've tried to do everything themselves, been all over social media, they've tried Facebook adverts, they've tried, and now it's almost, it's now your responsibility.
Yeah, they're offloading almost.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's almost wave a magic wand and turn my business around. And public relations has always been about increasing exposure. It's a brand awareness exercise. It's not a sales tool.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, you can get sales off the back of being seen in a publication. But as we know now, to turn potential customers into buy-in customers, you're taking a lot more kind of touch points, as they're referred to, for somebody to make that decision. And again, when I graduated from university, somebody only needed to see your brand 3 times before they then made the decision to buy. It's now something ridiculous like 14.
Wow. How do people track that then?
I'm not actually entirely sure. It goes back to human behavior, because I'm very impulsive. If I see something and I know I want it or I need it, especially in terms of business, I will invest.
Yeah,
you may not be like that. You may think, oh, okay, so Laura Perkes has popped up and she's told me that she can increase my exposure and drive more people onto my website. But who is she to say that?
Yeah.
Like, I've never met this person. Why am I going to spend money with her? So then you might download my lead magnet. You might then start following me on Facebook. You might join my Facebook group. You might buy my ebook. You might buy a workshop. And then you might think, okay, yeah, she's proven herself now. Now's the time to have that conversation about doing the deeper, more strategic work, then going to deliver what she's saying she can do.
Yeah. It's one of those, what, in terms of the way people see you as a PR person, why do you think that people see PR in that way? Why do you think people do come to you in that desperation phase, the last resort phase, like you mentioned? And flip side to that question is, how do you think as a business or as an industry, PR should be changing to get a different outlook on that?
So I actually said this a few months ago on another podcast. I feel like public relations should be rebranded into relationship marketing, because
PR needs to hire a really good PR person, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I'll do that.
Yeah. There we go. Everyone listening, Laura's raised her hand to solve the industry of PR.
Yeah, the problem with PR is PR.
Yeah. Always is. It's so ironic.
Yeah, of course. And again, this is just from personal experience. I feel like people don't really understand PR. Because, I mean, I know I said at the beginning, it's kind of like social media's ugly sister. I don't think it's the ugly sister. I think it's the more aloof, slightly unobtainable sister.
Yeah.
So it's almost this kind of magical creature that you may be aware of, but you've never been invited to hang around in that circle. Yeah. So I think one of the biggest misconceptions around PR is that people don't feel that not that they're worthy of it, but they don't feel like their business is at the right stage yet to invest in PR. So that's one of the misconceptions that I try and bust, because actually we all have a story. We all have a product or a service that helps somebody change or transform or experience something that enhances their life.
For sure, definitely.
And there's going to be more than one person who's been through or is going through what you experienced and would benefit from your expertise in knowing how to break through that.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? And I think, as with most things, it's about educating people on the benefits and how powerful it can be. So I have no doubt that if someone started working with you and you formulated this really strong PR strategy, it's going to just transform things in their business that they didn't even consider could be transformed before. Because I think so many people now get real tunnel visioned on like the social media marketing campaign. Like, I've got to post this, I've got to do this, I've got to do that. When actually, when you're bringing in all these other factors that can be doing it, from getting on podcasts, like you said, or, you know, even getting on YouTube channels, whatever that is, because again, PR media as a whole has just completely expanded widthways in terms of the difference in how people are listening to it and consuming media. That's kind of the hot point, isn't it? It's people need to understand the benefits of PR to them and not fear it. I think a lot of people fear working with a PR agency or a PR individual, no matter what they are, that, like you said, they're not quite ready, or they don't. And again, I bet imposter syndrome probably crops up for so many of your clients, because the moment their face is in an article, it's like, oh no, they're doing this. Whereas online, they can stay in that little bubble and sort of hit the spot. But when your face is out there without, maybe it's a control aspect, I don't know, when you can't control who sees it, that could be an interesting one.
Yeah, it's interesting. And I hear lots of different stories. Like I met a lawyer a few years ago who feared getting in the media because she's seen what the media can do for her clients when they tear you apart. Now, this is where the lines can get blurred slightly, but that's very much kind of the newspapers. So, you know,
the ones that are searching for a story rather than telling a story.
Absolutely. So I can understand from that perspective. And she was like, oh, you know, I've got all these skeletons in the closet that I don't want coming out. From my perspective, it's almost like they don't care about the skeletons. They actually, it's you and your expertise that I very much focus on. And it's about positioning you as the expert. But because we're so used to this celebrity culture and these reality stars who are catapulted to fame, and then the media seem to want to tear them down.
It's like the Big Brother effect.
Absolutely, yeah. Big Brother. I mean, Love Island.
Love Island, yeah.
So it's almost, and again, this tends to only be a handful of the red top newspapers.
Yeah.
And the what I'd class as the kind of celebrity trashy weeklies.
Of course. And also, even on those, they still seem to target the same sort of people for whatever it is, and the same story just being regurgitated in different formats. How do you remove that fear then? How do you remove the fear of getting yourself in media outlets?
It's something I take quite seriously. I've done like a lot of kind of self-development work. I've done a lot of inner work. So while I can hold the space for people who are feeling this, I don't feel like I'm the best equipped or qualified to be working with them on that level.
Yeah.
However, I have quite a big network of like psychotherapists, of coaches who do work with clients on that level, because it tends to be linked to a belief that was taught at a young age that they've then carried through to adulthood that has potentially no bearing on their life now.
Yeah.
It's something that they've believed for so long. It's difficult. And, you know, I've had it. I've kind of always, not always, but when you run your own business, you are opening yourself up to more criticism, to more... and like I always have huge expectations, and I had this conversation with my mum and my husband the other day, and they laughed at me and they said, your biggest critic is you.
Yeah, but I think that's the case with not just business owners, but people in general, you know, the world we live in today. I always say that your limited beliefs are actually your adopted beliefs, because normally they're, you know, that one conversation or that one sentence that was said to you at a certain part of your life, and you've just brought that with you, and now that's become your belief. Very few of, I always say to my clients, if you write out 10 limited beliefs, maybe 8 of them are adopted beliefs, which is really interesting. But coming back to PR then, if I could finish this conversation by asking you one question, putting you on the spot here a bit, Laura, but I know you're going to handle it because you're a PR wizard. But if you had someone in front of you, you know, they're startup business, they've been going a couple of years, maybe they've got a bit of funding, they're making money, what would be the sort of top 3 PR things that they should be doing before working with you? So how can they be setting themselves up in the best format possible so they can start working with you and it's just such a breeze for you both?
Of course. So I think firstly, it's really understanding your customers, your clients, the people, the communities who you're serving, and knowing them on a level that makes the, I guess, marketing process easier, because they then know every time they see you in the media, every time they hear you on a podcast, every time, you know, someone mentions you, they already know I can go there for my solution or my problem to be solved. So it's very much really understand your ideal client. And I know a lot of coaches will say, oh, you know, give your ideal client a name. What does he or she look like? No, I mean, delve deeper. Like, what's keeping them up at night? What do they love to do? Where do they spend their money? All this stuff that paints a picture then of, okay, so this is what they love to do. This is where they hang out. And then that's where my clients or brands need to be seen. So yeah, number 1 would be kind of what I class as ideal client inner work. Number 2, which is super important, and most businesses who have been around for a few years will know how important it is to have a crystal clear message. So again, in everything that you communicate, your ideal customers and clients know exactly what it is that they're going to get from buying into you. So firstly, ideal client inner work. Secondly, have a crystal clear message. And number 3 is probably not so much PR related, but business related, but trust the process.
Yeah, that's it. Trust in the process, I think, is such a key in so many levels of business. And I guess with PR, it must be a huge trust aspect because you've got that time frame of, like you said, a couple of months sometimes. Off, like you also said, you can get the quick win sooner. But if I started work with you, I'm going to have to. Of course, I would trust that actually in 3, 4, 5 months' time, we're going to be doing some really cool things together.
Absolutely,
And that's what's going to be the exciting part.
Totally. And what I do as well with my clients is PR isn't the end. Actually, I say to a lot of people, PR is the cherry on top, but actually there's room for sprinkles, there's room for sauce.
There's always room for sprinkles.
So it's almost, public relations is like opening that door to a whole new world. Yeah. Then what we need to do is then rev up the marketing machine to make sure we're then making the PR coverage do more work for you.
Yeah. And then, do you then come into that space of almost managing it as well? So managing how the PR moves forward, because I guess you can put things out there, but then other people get hold of that and make it their own or put it on their sites. Do you then have to manage that media relationship with the clients?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And I work in different ways. So if you are like a complete startup, you've maybe been around for like 1 or 2 years, there's an online course where you can absorb all my knowledge, and it's like cost effective. So you're going to be able to do everything yourself.
Yeah.
I then have a mentoring program for the people who are like, I want to do it myself, but I still need that accountability and that support. Or I then offer a bespoke service to the people who are time poor, but are at a stage where they can invest money in saying, this is your zone of genius. This is your area of expertise. We trust that you can deliver what we've discussed and go off and do it for me. So yeah, a lot of the time when I'm doing the bespoke work, I'm very much managing the relationship, creating the relationships, making sure that my client's brand is always represented in the best light. And that can filter into what they're posting on social media, how they're communicating to customers and clients on email and stuff.
So if they see your name calling their phone, they know they're in trouble. Oh, damn, I know I shouldn't have posted that thing. Laura's calling me.
Well, this is the thing. This is, a lot of these big brands who you see advertising on TV, they're paying their PR to keep them out of the media.
Yeah, yeah.
Because that means they've done something naughty and they can't have their reputation exposed and damaged. And that went if you actually,
that's sort of how you see PR in the films, though, isn't it? And in the TV shows, it's something's gone horribly wrong. We need to call our PR company.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that as well is where the myths around PR happen.
Yeah.
Because you're not so much seeing big names in the media. I mean, over the years it's happened. So when Dove used real models in their advertising campaigns, that was a PR story. When Nike started making plus size clothing, that was a PR story. But generally, you don't see these big brands in the press because they don't want to be in the press.
Yeah. They don't want people poking around in their stories.
No, exactly. And actually, if you Google the definition of public relations, it will tell you that PR is managing your brand's reputation.
Yeah, fantastic. Laura, I've thoroughly enjoyed this. You've opened my eyes to PR and what it can be doing for me. So I'm sure we will have a further conversation about this. But my final question is, how do people get in touch with you? How do people find out more about you, how you can help them and get into contact?
Well, as you can imagine, I am on most social media platforms. I haven't gone anywhere near TikTok.
I was literally just about to say, are you on TikTok?
So on LinkedIn, you can find me as Laura Perkes. On Facebook, I have a business page, again, PR with Perkes. I also have a Facebook group called the PR Accelerator. On Instagram, I'm PR with Perkes. Pinterest, I'm PR with Perkes.
It's everywhere.
I know. And then I also have a website, which is www.prwithperkes.com.
Fantastic. Laura, thank you so much for coming on. Like I said, I've thoroughly enjoyed this. And I'm really looking forward to just understanding more about PR moving forward.
Thank you for your wise words and encouragement and inspiration, and obviously the opportunity to share my expertise.
No, you've been a star. Thank you so much for coming on Founders 365, and thanks everyone for watching and listening.